whose objective is to unravel world-class solutions and strategies that assist in running sustainable, profitable, and compliant businesses. Our session for this month is focusing on digital marketing, and 75% of total marketing budgets go to digital marketing, and this is by Salesforce. The statistics clearly shows us that the power of digital is evident and growing each and every day. When it thrives in your business, you get to achieve stronger sustainability through increase in revenue, increase in market share, and also increase in loyal buyers. I'm Brenda Urudza, the founder of Be Advisory, a firm offering tailored accounting, taxation, and financial advisory services. Our main speaker for today is Kopano Moshoana. She is a digital mogul in the making. She has 2 online KPRM media solutions and sorted virtual assistants. And these are businesses that cater to help fellow business owners to own their brands and audiences online and also increase productivity and efficiency in their existing businesses. She's very passionate about conscious marketing and leadership and how we can use this to create a mindset that create an impactful conversation and campaigns online. Over to you, Kopano.
Thank you so much, Brenda, and thank you everyone that has joined and actually taken time to join us on this lovely Friday. We truly appreciate your guys' presence, and I hope that you guys get to learn quite a bit from me. So I'm very excited. I think, Brenda, should I beam up the presentation or will you do it on your side? Just before I continue introducing myself.
Okay, I think let me make you a co-host. So Prince, can you make a co-host so she can present from her end?
Yes, she can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much.
Kopano, you're muted.
Can you guys hear me now? It seems that when I share, unfortunately, it actually mutes me, which is quite unfortunate. Okay, let me just continue anyway. Sorry about that, guys. But as I share, I actually can't speak.
Okay, let me try to share from my end.
Yeah, from your side, yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Can you see?
Yes, perfect. Can everyone else see? Thank you before I get started. Sorry about that mini delay.
Yes,
Okay,
I can
lovely.
see.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you guys so much for your patience. So I think before I continue, let me just give a bit of information about myself. Like Brenda had mentioned, my name is Kopano Moshoana, and I am the founder of KPRM Marketing Solutions, which is a digital media and marketing agency where we basically help small, medium enterprises to expand their digital footprint through various digital tools that we have and solutions at our disposal. Then I have another business called Sorted Virtual Assistants, and that's basically mainly another story for another day. But basically, this is just a bit of information. So, like Brenda had mentioned, I'm very passionate around marketing, but mostly about conscious marketing because I feel like today, marketing, the way it should be approached, should be more intentional, more intricate, and more personalized, as opposed to just a one-size-fits-all guerrilla tactic approach like it used to happen back in the days when we were doing more of the traditional stuff. So now, because online has exposed quite a lot of brands to the platform, and it's somehow leveled the playing field, it's now a bit more competitive. But in order to stand out, it's really just about you being more intricate around your strategies. So that's a bit about me. I don't want to waste any further time. Let's get straight to it. So I think you can move on to the next slide, Brenda. Okay, perfect. So as you know, the topic today is mainly about how digital marketing is actually sustainable for your business. So before we get into the nitty-gritties around what I've just put here on this slide, I would like to just first speak about what digital marketing is, because I know some people are not somewhat really familiar or clear around what it is. So digital marketing is the promotion of products or service using online mediums or the internet at large. So it's, people always ask me, is there a difference between traditional and digital marketing? I'm like, not necessarily. I think now everything has moved online. So now it has slightly changed because now we're accommodating where all the customers are now, which is online, whether it's on their cell phones, desktops, etc. So that's basically the long and short of it, of what digital marketing is. And then I thought I would share some really great statistics around digital marketing that will feed into why it is actually a topic today. So the first one that I'd like to unpack is the first point, which is 85.4% of internet users search information online at least once per month. So that's quite a large number. And I think if we keep going into the future, it's definitely going to grow. And I also feel like it's probably not once anymore. It's probably more than once now. And it will continually grow as we progress. The other point is, according to Google, companies that have incorporated digital marketing plans have 2.8 times higher revenue growth expectancy. Companies using digital marketing also have 3.3 times the probability of increasing their workforce and business, which makes sense because once revenue grows, workforce grows, and in its entirety, the business grows as well, which goes back to why it's so sustainable. Now I'm going to go into the 6 points as to why digital marketing is actually sustainable for your business. We'll go into the results of using it continually and maybe a bit of the how. So I'm just trying to be cognizant of time. So I'll quickly go through it as much as I can and best as I can. So the first point is wider reach and geographical expansion. So a very good example of this is, back in the days when we were doing most mostly more of the traditional marketing. First of all, it was a bit more expensive, but what really sucked back then is that even though it was expensive, you weren't expanding across your geographical location. And yes, say for instance, you're in South Africa and you're running a campaign, say back in the day, doing traditional marketing, and you'd have a budget across print, you know, the newspapers, magazines, radio, billboards, etc. But it was very limited to South Africa only, because at that time, even though it was expensive as it was, you had a certain budget for that specific geographical area. So it somewhat kind of limited market share, of course, for businesses that were trying to go beyond and, you know, go intercontinental or international, which is the ultimate goal. So with now, digital marketing is slightly more different. And it, like I'd mentioned earlier, it kind of levels out the playing field. So what the difference is now is that you get to be exposed to a wider range of audiences beyond your geographical location. So even though, fine, you decide to take that very same budget that you utilized in traditional marketing and move it into digital marketing, there's a better way to use it, because now you can expose yourself to larger crowds of people in South Africa, of course, and even more targeted. But better yet, on top of that, it's also exposing yourself to people outside of South Africa, whether that's in Africa as a continent or, you know, the West, the European states, etc. So it really just depends on what your goal is as a business. But I feel like digital marketing is that tool that basically gets you to expand to a different geographical location and a wider range of people and market segments. And then, of course, the second point is building a brand name. This is absolutely important and usually overlooked, funny enough. A lot of people want to use digital marketing to go straight into getting sales and leads. And I do understand that. I mean, we are all in business, but the reality of it, especially now, because the online space is so you know, clustered with everyone trying to sell and you know, relate to their target audience, it's actually the smartest way, in my opinion, to rather be smart enough to build an actual brand than to chase after leads and sales. So yes, that will come, but at the end of the day, like I'd mentioned, a lot of people are already in the online space. So what makes you stand out is some of these things that people tend to overlook, like building a brand name. Now with digital marketing, it makes it much more easier, because now, like I said in point one, you get to be exposed to a bigger crowd and outside of your geographical location. So, you know, you're expanding 10 times before, you know, digital marketing came about. So now using this tool assists you to actually build a brand name from scratch. And these days with the internet, you can really build your brand name with almost any type of digital marketing, whether it's through social media, whether it's through content marketing, writing a blog, whether it's you doing a web series on YouTube, or even just creating a podcast or attending webinars like this. At the end of the day, all of these components play a very good role in building a brand. Back in the day, it was harder to do such a thing. So this makes it much easier. So once a brand is actually built and people get to understand what you're actually trying to build, the better the result. Sorry guys, just give me sorry about that, guys. So the higher so basically the probability of you building a very solid brand online is much better than what it was in the past. And the more you build your brand name, the more you're exposed and the more people are aware of your brand, which basically feeds into a higher market share because more people will get to know you. This will now then follow my point of point 3, which is better revenues. Because once you get point 1 and 2 really well, just another thing before I continue to point 3, another thing you need to definitely consider when you're going into digital marketing, it's like different baskets, right? That somewhat bring a certain impact when you put them all together, because there's different types of digital marketing, right? So you cannot go into digital marketing and put money, like large amounts of money, without a strategy, without measuring which money will go where. So for instance, like I was saying, I'm going to use the analogy of the baskets. If you know your ideal client, this is why it comes with a lot of strategy and study over time. You need to know where your clients are actually, residing online. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? That's where you now need to really learn your product, and really learn your buyer persona. Who are they? What do they look like? How old are they? That type of information then starts to build a picture, right? And through that, you get to start to actually build an actual demographic, a living person, and then look back at the platforms and match up and say, okay, if this person looks like this, I think there's a higher chance they would be on LinkedIn, for instance. Now, when it comes to your budget for digital marketing, you would rather put 3 eggs into that LinkedIn basket, because higher chance that the conversion rate would be higher because the most ideal client is on that platform, and maybe put another 2 eggs into other social media platforms. Because at the end of the day, I do believe that you have to be targeted and smart with it, but you should still explore other mediums, because there is still recommendation and word of mouth. So, for instance, if you decide to put it in other platforms, it's because the exposure and the brand awareness can still lead to conversations outside of, LinkedIn, for instance, and someone says, hey, I see that you're looking for that particular product or service that this person is selling, and I've been seeing their stuff on social media. Here's their details. I noticed this is what you're looking for. So those are some of the aspects that you need to really be cognizant of when you're starting out in digital marketing. You have to be very much aware of your strategy and going in there with an actual plan, as opposed to just throwing money to almost any type of digital marketing and then go back and say it doesn't work because you actually didn't really study it properly. So if you do the first 2 points, it basically gets to my next point. So if you do the first 2 points well, point 3 is like a given. You will get better revenue. As you saw in the previous slide, it's the 2 to 3 times higher expectancy in terms of your revenue actually growing, which makes so much sense, because if you actually get smarter in terms of how you segment your actual digital marketing budget, and you put it in the right places because you did your research and you are very intricate with the data as well, because data is a very, very, very big and important element in digital marketing today. So if you are looking at those things at a eagle's perspective or approach, you get to see the bigger picture and see where you should put money to really see a best result. And then, of course, the next point is cost effective, which makes a lot of sense. Like I had mentioned to you, back in the traditional marketing times, you would have, let's say, for instance, you had a budget of $1 million, and maybe most of it or a chunk of it would go to the TV, radio, and billboards. But like I mentioned, it's only limited to the bounds of where you are in the area. Because back in the day, I mean, I'm sure everyone wanted to have a billboard outside of South Africa, but it's probably so expensive, right? So as much as digital marketing also still has its expense, but it's definitely way better in terms of results and return on investment. And that's why it's actually cost effective, because you get more done with less than what you would have used previously, in traditional marketing. And of course, the next point is improved return on investment, which basically just explains the previous points, especially on the better revenues point that I just discussed now. Then, of course, it also facilitates interaction with targeted audience. So that's also another reason why I'm so obsessed with digital marketing as well, and why I love it, is because it also allows us to target exactly who we're looking for. Back in the past, we didn't have much data at our disposal to understand where someone is geographically, what they're into, what their consumer behavior looks like online, where do they go, how much time do they spend on that particular place, etc. But now with digital marketing, and that's why it's so disruptive, it's giving people exposure around that type of data. And with that data, you get exposed to doing sort of like less work, because let's say you run a campaign for 30 days. And then, of course, because of these tools and how things have advanced, you now have insights at your disposals where it will showcase different metrics around how that specific campaign performed within that specific time frame. And then you realize, wow, okay, we actually performed quite great, but I want to understand, why did we perform great? You look back and you see what was the campaign about, how did we create it, and then you take what you can basically, or rather you take what was really good and what made the campaign great, and you somewhat replicate or emulate it in the next campaign so that you get a better result, or you somewhat improve or maintain a certain result when you're doing campaigns in the future. And there's an actual term for it, it's called remarketing. So it's where you collect all the data from previous campaigns and seeing whether the campaign was good or bad. That's another thing. You will see where you need to improve and where you need to just keep doing what you're doing and get better. And basically, that's what the last point is about. So the more you facilitate, campaigns, the more you actually also facilitate interaction with the actual targeted audience that you want to speak directly to. So it saves you time and somewhat saves you money as well, because I know some people, if you don't do this thing properly, or you don't have or you have someone to assist you, then it becomes a bit tricky, because you might end up losing some money. But that's basically the 6 points that I feel basically grow your business. And what is it to grow your business? At the end of the day, that's what sustainability is all about. And digital marketing, if it's done properly, it will feed into your overall marketing strategy and your business strategy beyond. Because at the end of the day, it will affect your sales and, of course, revenue, like I mentioned. And that means if the revenue gets better each year, at even if it's small percentages, but it's always progress, right? Then it somewhat gives off a feel of, okay, this business is actually sustainable now. It can actually operate by itself, because there's a certain base of people that we are consistently getting through digital marketing, whether it's the same market or new markets that you're trying to go into. Because now you have things like targeted audiences. It assists you if you want to break out into new markets and test that out and see how people receive your product or service. So that is how I feel digital marketing actually feeds into your overall sustainability of your business. Yeah, that was fast. I had to really get through that quite quick. I hope you guys understood. Thank you so much for your time. So if you guys need help with anything around this, content marketing, or anything around digital marketing, you guys are more than welcome to contact me further, and we can talk about how I can assist you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Kopano. Are there any questions in respect of the presentation? But the question I have for you is, as a business, let's say as a small business, how do you develop a strategy, a digital marketing strategy for your business? Hello, Kopano, can you hear me?
Okay. So, like I mentioned, by the way, Brenda, it's really about research, right? So you created this great product. You know it in and out. Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you are breaking a bit.
No, we can't hear you.
Yes. Can you hear us, Kopano? I think we have
Yes,
lost
are
him.
you guys?
Ye-
Can you guys?
Can you hear? We have lost it there. Oh, Kopano?
Hi guys, I'm sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. You were saying, yes, I was actually saying, you asked me, how do you build a digital marketing strategy for your business? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So great question, by the way, Brenda. So like I'd mentioned in the presentation, it's really about studying and researching your audience. So, right, you are the person that's created this great product or service or idea, business idea or model. And now, of course, you're trying to expose it to the world. Now, what this requires is the main thing that you need to really hone into is the customer. They're probably the most important thing in the entire digital marketing strategy, because once you understand who your customer is, they will then get to feed into what the rest of the strategy will look like. So say, for instance, you are running a shoe brand. Fine, everyone sells shoes. And I know I've had clients before that would tell me, I'd ask them, who's your target audience? And they'll say to me, everyone, it's shoes. I'm like, no, you have to be more specific. You need to be more intricate. So that way you stand out. A good example is Nike. We know that they are a shoe, but they're just more than a shoe. It's an actual sports brand. It's a lifestyle, right? So they have worked their way so well that they know who specifically their target audience is. It's of course the normal individual, but the sports person, the person that feels that they can believe in themselves and do anything, right? Just like their slogan. So these are some of the elements that you need to look into. You can't just say, because I'm selling shoes and everyone else wears shoes, my audience is the general public. What if your shoes is premium? So what does premium look like? How old is this premium person? Where would you find this premium person online? Or what would they be generally doing during the weekend or during the week? That type of information, and it's also called the buyer persona, by the way. You can always like search for templates. It's really helpful. So building a buyer persona is really just about, it's like building your ideal client from scratch, so that it also gives you more information around, okay, so this is what I'm looking for. And once you've built that person, how do they look? Where are they from? How many kids do they have? Are they married? Are they unmarried? It goes that deep. That's how intricate it becomes. So it goes beyond the, okay, fine, the general demographics, like, if you're selling a shoe, you can't say it's for the general market, so anywhere between 14 to 65 years old. But it's just like, but what makes your shoe different? So it's about going a step further to say, fine, everyone else is actually selling shoes, but why would they buy my shoe? So it's about going into the mind of the customer. There's too many options. There's so many options. Why would I want to choose your brand? So that's some of the information that you need to think about. Like, why should they buy your brand? And also, the why will also answer around who it's for, essentially, because sometimes the why also kind of helps you with the who and the what. So it's really about, why are you selling these shoes? Who are you selling these shoes for? Like, how does the person look like? Once you've answered these questions, it will then become easier to build the marketing strategy, because now, for instance, I'll go back to the Nike thing. Mainly, they're pumping their main marketing budget into advertising, which makes sense, right? Their advertising is impeccable, and they're very good at storytelling. So they tell a story. They don't really sell you the product. they tell you a story. So they go into content marketing, they go into advertising, they go into, of course, the different social media campaigns, whether they collaborate with influencers, etc. But all of this is basically informed by who the actual client is and who is it for. Why are they doing what they're doing? So that's some of the questions and research and study that you need to go into that will help you build an actual strategy, if that makes sense. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much. Yes. So unfortunately, we have run out of time. So I'll just give you one more question. And then maybe you can just, repeat up. Then the rest of the questions will provide Kopano's details, and then you can actually engage with her later on. So the other question I have is, how often do you develop or review digital marketing strategy plan for the business?
Oh, that's a brilliant question. But because the platforms are so fluctuating and sporadic, a lot happens online. I would say every month, to be quite honest.
Okay.
You'll always have a long view and long-term picture painted around what the actual ultimate goal is, but the short-term stuff will always change. Short-term to medium, I feel, will always change because we are unfortunately using a medium that is not really ruled by us. So there'll be different policies, different things that will change with the different tools that we utilize that may need us to look back and see how can we change. And also consumer behavior is insane, right? We as humans, and I think let's all be honest, we are always changing our minds. We are always getting exposed to options. So we also need to look at our competitors. What are they doing differently? So that somewhat also then informs on how to re-strategize and approach your digital marketing plan. So I would say at least every month, just to review, are we on track? Is everything still making sense? If not, what do we need to change? Because sometimes a strategy, once it's created, that's one thing, but to implement it is another. And that's when you have to really test it out to say, okay, we've created this really great strategy, but now we still have to implement and see if it actually really works. And that's the beauty of digital marketing. It's so much trial and error. So sometimes you won't get it right the first or second or even third time, but the more you go and the more intricate you become with the process of creating campaigns, the better it becomes.
All right, thank you so much. So I think I've seen we have gone way out of our time. We are actually 7 minutes over. So what we'll do is we'll provide you with Kopano's details, and then she can give you more information or elaborate further on the areas that you guys might need for your assistance in the digital marketing. Thank you so much, Kopano, for the insightful presentation. Indeed, digital marketing is of paramount importance to the growth of the business. So thank you so much. Join us again on the next series of our Lunch and Learn, where we'll be focusing on how to structure our business. In the next series that we are going to be launching in the coming month, we'll be focusing on the sustainability, but through investments in succession planning. How do you move your business to the next level to succession planning? So have a fantastic weekend, and thank you so much, everyone, for coming in, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.